Hello, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. Today, we are talking with Ran Blayer. Ran owns and started up an agency in beautiful Tel Aviv called Percepto. I've known Ran for a few years, but Ran has just joined the Hubs Network and Mission Partners and become a mission partner. So it's time to have a conversation and learn a little bit more about his agency. Hi, Ran. How you doing?
Very well, thank you, Paul. It's great speaking with you.
Likewise, likewise. Ran, I was wondering, I mean, for our colleagues and partners watching this video, if you could tell us a little bit about Percepto and the sort of, where you started from, the business idea, and the space in the sort of the ecosystem that you occupy.
Yeah, sure. So Percepto was established in 2007, and actually I joined Percepto around like 11 years ago as a VP Sales and Marketing. So I wasn't the one to initially establish this agency. So I joined as VP Sales and Marketing. After 1 year, the owner of the agency was asking me to become the CEO. And then 5.5 years ago, me and my partner Nir, we did a management buyout. So it's actually my agency or our agencies for the last 5.5 years. And really quickly about Percepto. So Percepto is an online reputation and digital PR agency. And the main thing we do is to help our clients to gain control over their online presence and to best promote their key messages and narratives online. We work with both companies and organizations as well as with individuals, which are mainly high net worth individuals, business owners, and yeah, so that would be, the most of our clients would be, again, these type of people, and I would say that it's divided. So at the moment, I think that around like 50% of our revenues come from individuals and 50% from companies and organizations. Yeah, so that's really, in a nutshell, about us.
And how did you and Nir get together? How did you know each other?
So when I joined Percepto, like almost 11 years ago, Nir was already working in the company as a senior director. So I think, between us, I think Nir is one of the most experienced people within the online reputation industry. He's been doing that for more than 12 years already. So that's quite a while, especially comparing to, if we look at this industry, the online reputation industry, it's not as established as other industries that we know from the marketing and digital space, and still I think that was true almost 12 years ago, and I think it's true also now. Even look at the UK landscape of agencies, you can't find too many agencies that do exactly that. So that's interesting, and that's probably one of the reasons that we've decided many years ago to put our focuses and to focus on the UK market, because we sensed this opportunity for our type of services in Britain.
So, online reputation is as you say, it is a pretty new thing, and I guess, we all sort of understand what those words mean, but really when you think about it, I guess it must be quite a complex process that you engage with when you're working with a client to manage someone's reputation online. What does a typical assignment for you look like? When do people come and talk to you, and how do you go through that process? I know some of it you probably can't talk because it's confidential, but just to give us an idea of what you really do for people.
Well, it's true that most of the clients that reach out to us would be ones that suffer from unwanted information that was published about them, or negative press, or are in the middle of some sort of legal litigation cases, and they need our help to try and balance the narrative that is currently being displayed online, and to try to promote their messages and their narratives to be more prominent. And eventually, many of them would like us to try and replace the unwanted information with more favorable or professional content. So that would be in most cases. And I must also say that most of the clients would reach out to us after a while. So as opposed to crisis management, where you manage the crisis as it happens, in most cases with online reputation management, most of the clients would reach out to us like sometimes after a few months, sometimes even after a few years, when they discover that those unwanted results or links are really creating damage in the real world. So for example, they find it difficult to open bank accounts, or they have issues with trust with their end clients. So it really depends on the type of clients. I think it's also different between corporates. When we work with corporates, usually they reach out to us quicker, much quicker than individuals, when sometimes they hope that even if something happens, it won't really affect their day-to-day business life, but then they discover something that it does negatively affect their business. So and then that's usually the incentive for them to contact us and try to get it resolved.
And do you work, I guess probably you do, a lot directly with the clients or the person, or you interface with other agencies? I guess on the corporate side, you probably work with the PR agencies for your customers, yeah?
Well, it really depends. So as you just mentioned, I think it's quite equal, because for many of our clients, we do collaborate with, with their communication consultancies or PR firms. And this is something that we do quite well, and we like to collaborate and to partner with these agencies, because we can really add value to the work, to the good work that their traditional PR is already providing them. But we add our secret sauce and our additional value of making sure that not only the PR efforts will be more prominent online, but we also create additional online assets, and we work with the client-owned web assets that we can further optimize. And in the end of the day, when you look at Google first page, you want to look at this real estate and make sure that it's mostly populated with content that would be favorable for the client. So yes, we do collaborate with the client's PR agencies, and sometimes with the client's in-house PR team. And in many cases, however, when many clients can reach out to us directly, and then we work directly with them without having the PR as another partner. So we really know how to work with these two different options.
And how long would a typical project be for you? I mean, I guess you sort of mentioned you're not doing crisis, but I can imagine people come to you when they, as you say, they find out they've got a problem. And how long does it take you normally to engage and sort out a problem, or do people retain you to continually look after their reputation online?
Yeah, so first of all, in many cases, it really depends on how significant those article that was published about these clients were, and on where they were published. So for example, if they were published on very reputable sources, so obviously it would be it would take longer to push it down or to replace it. But usually we can start seeing initial results within 3 to 4 months. And then depends on how complex it is. Sometimes you can really see a very, dramatic change, a positive change within 6, 7 months. Sometimes it takes longer than that. But in many cases, just to answer the second part of your question, I would say that in many cases, the incentive for the client to reach out to us would be this crisis. But then when we start work together, and then we see that, reputation is not building and maintaining a positive reputation and promoting key messages is not something that you should do just to tackle those challenges, but it's something that can actually contribute for the long term. So then we sometimes, in many cases, we just continue working with the client for many years. So it really depends. there are clients where they just hire us to get, to help them with this like specific crisis, and then it takes like between 6 to 12 months, and then we part ways after the project has ended. And in other cases, we can start, just continue working with the client as long as we have the client happy.
Okay, I mean, I'm guessing slightly here, but given how long you've been doing what you do, you must have seen some tremendous changes in the way that the internet works and the way that the way that you do your work. But what do you think, looking forward, of potentially are the biggest threats to brands, and I mean brands for corporate brands, but also brands for individuals, given where the internet is now?
It's a good question. I think that the challenges that we see now and we've seen for the last few years would continue. I think it's too early to know or to determine how would AI, for example, and the fact that information and images that are not necessarily real would affect the way people perceive different brands, and how different brands and individuals can protect themselves from this untruthful information that may be published about them. So that would be probably the one thing that I would look at, even though we do sometimes work with technology companies that helps detect this type of unnatural online behavior, and to help us understand if the online conversation we look at is authentic or not. So there are obviously there are and they will be tools to determine that, but I guess that would add just another layer of complexity to our work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think AI in its many guises is. I mean, I've done a few of the conversations over the last month or so, and I think AI in its many guises is the one thing that comes up, which the industry across the board is thinking about, particularly at the moment. The other area I was quite keen to talk to you about, Ran, was startups, and I know that you work a bit in the startup space, don't you?
Yes, we did. First of all, the fact that we live here and we operate here in Israel, even though I think it's important to say, we haven't said it, I mean, until now, but at the moment, around 90% of our revenues come from international clients, not from Israeli-based clients. However, we did have, along the years, an opportunity to work with very interesting startups, just because of the fact that we're located here in Israel, but we have a very global approach. So obviously for some of the startups, that's something that is quite important. So yeah, we had an opportunity to work with some.
The reason for asking, and I know you've got this split and you're very much an international business, but I've always been curious about sort of Israel and Tel Aviv especially. Why do you think it is such a place for the startup industry? What makes it special in that respect?
Well, that's a very big question, and I think there are many books and articles that were written about the Israeli startup scene, but I think probably the first thing would be the fact that Israel is not a country that is rich with natural resources and other channels for income. So it's all about the fact that you need to use your brain and to be entrepreneur and to think of things that can generate incomes. I think that's one thing. The other thing, which is also discussed, is the fact that many of the majority of the technological education that those startup founders they got it from the military service. And this is something that is actually quite significant. So they get all their education during the military service in specific units, and then they get out and they have their own like ideas to what to do with that. And I think it's something that you often see. So
Yeah, it's a fascinating area, and I've not actually thought about it from the point of view of, so because the military service leads to that approach. Yeah, interesting, very interesting. Um, I mean, in general, obviously, we all work in the creative industry, and I think it's always interesting to have a perspective where our partners are, what your feeling is about the creative industry. And I mean, in the broadest possible context, I should probably call it creative and communications industry to be more accurate. But what's it like in Tel Aviv at the moment? Is it buzzing? Is is the agency startup scene good?
well, I think there's a lot of creative minds here in Tel Aviv, probably just like in many other places around the world. And the creative agency space is very active, even though it's not really our space, but we can see work that is being done here in Israel, both like locally and internationally. And I think we can find amazing things that have been happening here. Tel Aviv, in the end of the day, is a small city.
Mm.
It's not so big. I mean, it's big comparing to Israel, but it's relatively small. But there are so many. I mean, you can walk here in the streets and you can see so many startups and so many, creative agencies. Like there's like a certain, part of Tel Aviv where there's like hundreds of startups and creative agencies. So it's all like mixing, and it's a very active and vivid city also from that perspective.
Yeah, no, I remember walking around and people introducing me to friends and friends and friends who are doing businesses and starting stuff up. It's got a real energy and dynamism to it. It's great. Um, and I guess I should probably ask you, I mean, if obviously for our partners watching and and our mission agencies, if they're thinking about your using your services, is there a particular type of client that you would really go, yes, I want to work with them, that would be fantastic, or a particular sector that would be super interesting?
Well, as opposed to most of the agencies that you would probably speak with that are, focused at specific industries or specific countries or specific niche, I must say that at least for the online reputation service, we're quite sector agnostic, because along the years we've been working with so many different industries and so many different types of business people with so many geographies. By the way, we've been working in, I think, in almost in every corner of the globe, and we've been providing our service along the years in like around 6 or 7 different languages. So we've been working in US and UK, but we've been working in Europe, and when we have experience working in French, so it helps us with some of our African clients, and Spanish. We work also in Latin America. So I think the reason that the fact that Israel is such a small market, and for us as an agency, as part of our growth strategy, is to really try to be able to help our clients in various countries and cultures. And some of our clients did have challenges, since they're like work and operate globally, sometimes they need support more than just in English. So we can really do that. And sometimes we partner with other agencies that can support us in local countries, where we need, for example, PR support in local countries. That's something that we sometimes do, even though we have our own like small PR team here internally that helps with press releases, articles, and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not sure I answered the question.
No, that's fine. I mean, as I was trying to probe, I'm probably being a little bit naughty by trying to get client names from you, but I know you have the confidentiality in your business is important. But I guess the final thing I really wanted to sort of touch with you, Ran, was from a point of view of our the people watching this, what would be the best time for them to engage with you if they're talking with a client? I mean, is it one of those, we need to bring you in at the start, or is it just one of those phone calls that you get as a sort of crisis call on a Friday afternoon? Let's help.
So, well, I think it really depends. So I know that during this conversation, we focused mainly on the online reputation service, which is, again, it's quite a significant part of what we do, even though if you look at our website, you would see like a list of other services that we also provide. Because, and especially in the last 3 years or so, we understood that, we have the ability to create content. We know all the different digital platforms that we can use in order to utilize this content and to amplify it and to make sure the right stakeholders and target audiences would be aware of these key messages. So we're not, for the last few years, we've been working not just with clients that are more like crisis related, but also with clients with certain need to make sure that their messages are getting to the right audiences sometimes in like creative ways. But for online reputation management, I would say that in the end of the day, if one of the mission group agencies would have a client that suffers from unwanted information, or sometimes in advance that something is going to be published. So I would say that would be the good timing to contact us, at least to have like an initial conversation to try and assess the challenges and opportunities and to come up with some ideas, and then we can discuss if this is something that you would like to share with the client or not. But yeah, we're always happy to share some initial thoughts before contacting the client, or just give you a general background about what can be done.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, Ran, this has been great. I think the area you work in has always fascinated me, and I don't pretend to fully understand what you do, but I think that's part of the deal. And I'd like to thank you.
I understand quite clearly.
Well, as long as you understand it, that's the main thing. But I'd like to thank you very much for your time today. It's been great to catch up with you, and we're looking forward to working with you. And yeah, if you find yourself in London, please come and see us.
Yeah, sure. It's my pleasure, and it's my pleasure also to join the Mission family. And it would be interesting to know other agencies that are part of this group. And thanks for your time, Paul. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Pleasure's mine. Thanks, Ran.
All right, take care.